This was before the Bush administration, too, in fact. But that's our understanding of the universe. I want to tell you about it briefly. I want to tell you about a few things that you'll hear about, and some of the things that creationists and intelligent design people promote as arguing somehow that there's design in the universe. This is one of them, and I want to explain to you why it has nothing to do with design. It is weird and strange that we live in a universe that looks like we do, because this is a brief history of time. This is the density of matter as the universe expands. It goes down as 1 over the volume. But it turns out the energy density of empty space remains constant as the universe expands. And we live today, right here, when the energy density of empty space is 3 times bigger than the energy density of matter. But when you look at this has driven physicists crazy. Because this is the only time in the history of the universe when these two numbers are about the same. At all earlier times, the density of matter was much greater. At all later times, the density of empty space will be much greater. Why do we live at this special time in the history of the universe? Well, one of the answers that's been given is that these things exist, galaxies. Why? Well, let's go back to this picture, and let's pretend the energy of empty space were 50 times bigger. Then these two curves would cross, not now, but then. Well, when is then in this case? Then is the time when galaxies first formed. But if the energy of empty space was bigger than the energy density of matter when galaxies first formed, then their repulsive force would be greater than the attractive force. Galaxies would never have formed. Well, if galaxies never formed, then maybe this is telling us something. And this has produced something that I call anthropic mania. If there are many different universes, physicists have argued, and the energy of empty space can vary in each one, then only in those in which it's not much greater than what we measure today will galaxies form. Okay? But then, only then will stars and planets form, and only then will astronomers form. So the universe is the way it is because astronomers are here to measure it. Now, it not only sounds ridiculous, but it also sounds religious. And some people have said the universe is fine-tuned. If it were any different, then we wouldn't be here. God clearly created the universe to be for us. Now, that's nonsense. And it's nonsense for the same reason that you learn so beautifully in Richard's books. Why can bees tell the colors of flowers? So they can find them. Not because God intended them to do it, but if they couldn't find the flowers, they wouldn't get the stuff they needed to eat, and they wouldn't be around. It's natural selection. And what this is really telling us is kind of a cosmic natural selection. Because all it's saying, if it's true, is that it's not too surprising that we find ourselves living in a universe that allows life. Because in the universes that don't allow life, we wouldn't be here. It's just that simple. So if you wish, it's a kind of cosmic evolution. Or cosmic natural selection is a better way of thinking about it. Now, as pretty as that is, I think it's wrong. It's ugly. And it goes against everything I know about science. Science has told us the last 400 years why the universe must be the way it is, not why it has to be something different. In fact, Einstein once asked a question. He said it the wrong way. Put it here because, I wanted to quote him. He said, what really interests me is whether God, and by God he didn't mean God, had any choice in the creation of the universe. What he really meant is, are the laws of physics fixed so that if you changed one parameter, you couldn't have a universe? Or can you have infinite numbers of different laws of physics that all work, and it just happens to be the way it is? If this anthropic picture is right, then physics is really an environmental science. There's no fundamental laws necessarily. We're just here by an accident. And the laws of physics are the way they are, not because there's some beautiful mathematical theory that tells us they have to be, just because if they were different, we wouldn't be here. Now that I find repugnant, although it may be true. And I was going to spend time telling you about that, but I'm really behind, so maybe I shouldn't. Let me just say that there is a theory that suggests, in such a picture, if there are an infinite number of universes, then you don't need a theory of everything. Forget what I wrote there. You need a theory of anything. You just need an infinite number of universes and some theory that tells you anything can happen. We have such a theory, and I did want to spend 1 minute telling you about it. It's called string theory. Here's the brief summary of it. One person said to another, I just had an awesome idea. Suppose all matter and energy is made of tiny vibrating strings. The second guy says, okay, what would that imply? And the first guy says, I don't know. So that's a history of string theory in the last 25 years. And the point is, it is fascinating for many people, but one of the things it might predict is that anything is possible. And if anything's possible, it's not clear you have a scientific theory at all.